with the big stories around from the SEC. This morning, Ministry of Finance approves the decisions of the Administrative Proceedings Committee against the directors of Partnership Investments Limited and Partnership Securities Limited. The Chief Executive Officer, Victor Ogenwe, has been banned for life. The chairman of the company, Omorabon Alan, is also getting a 5-year ban, including 5 other directors of the company. About 18 individuals of these 2 firms, market firms, were brought before the Securities and Exchange Commission for matters relating to securities fraud in the capital markets. So this all that breaking news right from here on Channels Television this morning, this Tuesday, the 19th of September. Let's move on to the commodities market. Look at the 3%, a little over 3% yesterday dip in the oil and gas subsector was brought about by 2 oil majors, Owando and Seplat. 2 of them sitting around the exploration and production oil space. The rest of the 7 majors were largely quiet: Conoil, Forty Oil, Pt.1 PLC, MIS, and Total. But Owando lost 4.96%. The volume there is still a little bit heavy for this company. Still trying to claw its way out of billions and billions and billions of naira in losses in previous years, and that stock is now to 575. And Seplat lost 5%, quite an aggressive single-day decline for this E&P company, 456.76 when the market finished off. What's in the news this morning from the oil sector? Yes, the oil workers says they are now shutting down the petrol products depot across the country. Of course, Lagos is the #1 home destination for that. And they are protesting the fact that they haven't been paid arrears of petrol subsidies. So the junior oil workers says they're shutting things down. You may expect to see some queues at the petrol stations. I saw a little bit of that coming out early today. Meantime, the NNPC says there's no need for panic buying of petrol products. The oil marketers say they want their money. The oil majors, what they call the moment, the major oil marketers under that umbrella, says they owed about $2 billion by the government. So the organization calling the latest strike action is the United Labour Congress, a faction of the Nigeria Labour Congress, and says they're looking to cripple Nigeria's land and air transport, total power outage, and of course, including disruption of banking services. No one is advised to keep cash at home anyway. So just hold on, folks, and see how things pace out. But of course, when petrol, diesel, or kerosene becomes scarce, we know what gets affected first in the line of firing. That's going to be transportation and consumer goods. So on this very day, when the strike action is getting started, that's on the day we are having Ada Konobi here in the studios to tee off this strike action for us and tell us how she got petrol to get here this morning. Good morning, it's good to see you.
Good morning,
From Financial Derivatives Company, by the way, an economist and one of the research analyst team. This is bad news. So we're trying to figure out what's good news and what is bad news. This is bad news as it gets.
Yes, of course.
Yes, it is.
I mean, if there's going to be an imminent fuel strike, because what is going to happen now, there's going to be a lot of panic buying, and even if you don't need fuel, you're going to have to stock up because you're not sure how long this is going to last for. But then if this lasts until Thursday, there definitely will be a fuel strike. But then there is conversations between the oil marketers and the federal government. So they are looking to meet today to try and rectify this so that this doesn't get much worse than it is. And typically what this happens is that if there's going to be a fuel scarcity, which will typically affect other refined products, we're going to see an increase in most consumer price because it will definitely affect logistics costs.
We're just about 72 hours to the OPEC meeting. And of course, we're thinking of this is going to be some good news that we're likely going to remain exempted from the oil cap. But let's go to the burning economic issues, and we're going to keep coming down. And one of the burning issues is that we were about celebrating the fire. We'll keep saying thank you to the Petroleum Ministry and others for keeping diesel below 190. Then we saw 185. Then we're now seeing 180 per litre.
Well, if you look at diesel prices now, it's trading about 180 across the major filling stations. We can link this to the fact that this is the harvest season, so most products are actually, you have most products coming up on stock, and logistics, so most people are transferring bulk of their product from point A to point B, so there's increased demand for diesel prices. That's why we're seeing prices trade as high as 180. But then a month, 2 months ago, diesel prices were between 160 to 165. So hopefully, I believe that demand factor is slowly creeping up prices.
Yes, but again, whatever happens here, we are going to get to this conversation around when there's a strike action, like we're saying. We, the folks on the street, are the ones who are going to, and I'm sure transportation is going to be the first one. Then we're now back to this vicious cycle that we always have. Once petrol prices go up, you're not sure when these prices will begin to come down as well. But let's stick with the burning economic issues a little bit. Where do we have some comfort here?
Well,
external reserves?
External reserves are, the CBN reported external reserves are as high as $31.3 billion, so which is good news. Oil prices are trading above $55 per barrel, which is quite stable, above $55 per barrel. There's a meeting coming up on Friday to discuss compliance among OPEC members. So far, so good. We have good news. Power output is up 3.65% compared to yesterday. So we have all-round good news. And we see that there's going to be some marginal oil field bidding. It has been announced to come up earlier next year or late this year. So, yes.
But let's go to the good news versus bad news page. And I'm still trying to understand why diesel price is higher than petrol, driving up logistics and distribution expense, when petrol is actually seems to be in more demand. So between petrol and diesel, which one do you think go into what consumer feel in terms of what they are paying the supermarkets on the sidewalk when they are picking up household goods, consumer goods, whatever?
Well, typically in other countries, petrol prices are higher than diesel, but in Nigeria, the reverse is the case. We have diesel prices much higher than petrol.
I don't have an answer to that.
I'm sorry.
Do we know why?
No. Well, we say that the market is somewhat not regulated, so that's why we're seeing, it's demand supply factor that is actually determining prices. The diesel market, exactly. The diesel market is less regulated
than
the petrol.
PMS.
Yes, than PMS. So, well, like I stated earlier, we'd see that it's mainly logistics costs, and you asked a valid question in terms of what the consumers use the most, diesel or petrol. Depends on what it is. So for transportation and for powering of most trucks, most heavy-duty trucks, mostly diesel. So, I mean, these trucks have like goods, from one end of the country to the other end of the country. So they use a large amount of diesel. And if you're going to transfer truckloads of, excuse me, truckload of inventories from one point to another, they use diesel as well. But mainly for transport, driving from point A to point B, most people use fuel. So it seems like there's somewhat higher, well, we've seen that there's somewhat higher demand for diesel as opposed to fuel in terms of consumer goods.